The landscape of crypto mining is always changing and there's always new things to be learned. And in this video, I sit down with fellow miner and content creator, the Hobbyist Miner, as we discuss kind of what our biggest lessons learned from this year of 2024 have been in relation to mining. We go into what has actually ended up working out really well for miners this year and the kind of lessons we can take away from that going forward. So that and more is what's coming up in this video after this quick word from our sponsor. Coin Mining Central is an online store for ASIC miners, and there's no doubt that right now ASIC mining profitability has just been going up like crazy in these past few months. And the miners that I'm personally most interested in right now are probably the Ice River AL2 Light Homa Lithium miner and the Jasminer X16Q, which I still think is probably the best ASIC miner available for at-home miners like myself. Coin Mining Central are also continuously providing me with exclusive discount codes for you guys, like the code 𝗧, which gives you $125 off on every miner in your order. I am also very excited to tell you that Coin Mining Central have recently launched a loyalty program that lets you earn points in loads of different ways, like signing up for their newsletter or following them on social media. You also earn points on every order you make with them, and these loyalty points can then be redeemed for massive discounts on your next purchase. Now, on top of this, with Coin Mining Central, worldwide express shipping is always free, and there are never any added payment fees during checkout or anything like that. The listed price is always the total cost you'll pay for the miners. And I did a lot of research before I decided to partner up with Coin Mining Central, and there were two clear things that stood out to me about them. The first one being that as opposed to most other ASIC vendors that are based overseas, Coin Mining Central is registered and run out of England, Europe, which means they have to adhere to the very strict regulations for customer support and personal detail protection that we have over here. And of course, all brand new miners also come with a full manufacturer warranty. The second thing is their pretty much spotless track record of delivering miners to happy customers like you guys for well over 5 years at this point. So please go check them out today. I'll have the discount codes and link for you down in the video description. All right, I am here with the Hobbyist Miner, content creator extraordinaire. Thank you so much for joining me in this little discussion that we're gonna have about just kind of the biggest lessons that we've learned in this year of 2024 as it relates to mining and mining at home, I guess. Hobbyist, thanks for joining me.
Man, what an intro, right? Extraordinaire. Whoa, calm down there. But no, this is fun. This will be a great topic. I'm definitely looking forward to it today.
Yeah, because, you know, we're obviously very much experts on this. I'm just kidding. We're, you know, just like you guys, we are always learning and always evolving and trying to better ourselves and better our mining farms and our mining strategies. So with that in mind, I would very much like to talk about starting off a little bit about like GPU mining and kind of what we've seen in GPU mining this year. Because it's been kind of a wild year for GPU mining. You know, we come from the era of Ethereum mining, where it was very easy, just set it and forget it on Ethereum, and that's gonna be the most profitable, and you know, you just take your payout at the end of the month and cash in, right? It's not really been like that recently with GPU mining, but actually, like I was looking back at GPU mining this year, and it's kind of been pretty good during significant chunks of this year, and definitely depending a little bit on what your strategy has been, starting with like in certain regards spec mining with GPU mining has been really good. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about kind of your experience with spec mining as it relates to GPU mining this year?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely stepped away from your traditional GPU mining, which, you know, going back, as you talked about with ETH, that was just the direction you went, was the complete opposite. Just hammer as many GPUs as you could online and, you know, reap the rewards of Ethereum. But in the last year, man, it's been a wild roller coaster. I've seen lots of people have success with getting in on a lot of projects early, and there hasn't been some magic indicator on these. It has very much been, they're taking a rig, they're going ahead and finding a project that is super, super early, mining it for not a profit, but for a risk or a gamble that it may balloon in the future. And some people have done very well with that over the last year. I'm continuing to run One rig right now, it's an 𝗥12 3070 rig for that sheer purpose of just mining some of these coins that come out. Now, pure disclaimer, a lot of these are very much a situation where you're going to mine 100 of these and 2 or 3 pop off and do very, very well. So it's a different side of GPU mining. I'm not sure if you have seen that as well recently over the last year.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it kind of also, I want to bring this to a little bit like the second lesson that I've seen here, which is also kind of the opposite as it relates to GPU mining, where we've had, as you say, a lot of new coins pop up that hasn't really been profitable to mine per se, but if you did, they've then ballooned and turned out they, made you a lot of money if you were willing to kind of take that risk on them, right? But another thing we've seen is these kind of flash in the pan coins that come out. They're, significantly profitable for maybe a week or two, and then kind of dips below profitability and ends up, dying off essentially. And what I've seen there a lot of the time is the people who make it out the best there have been the people that, they take that profit and they actually realize it, right? Like they either just straight up sell the coins while mining those coins is still profitable, or they swap it into other coins that they actually want to hold for the long term, be that, Bitcoin or whatever other coin you think is a long-term hold. I'm thinking off the top of my head, Pyrin being a very good example of a coin like this, which, it had a few good stints of being very profitable to mine. But, if you held all of your Pyrin, it's not really looking so great right now, with Pyrin being down like 99% from its all-time high. And, that's obviously why, both you and I, whenever we make videos about these, new coins, we put disclaimers in about just make sure, that you understand the risks of mining these coins. Even though we get comments saying like, oh, you don't believe in this project, blah, blah, blah. We put those disclaimers in kind of for a reason. Do you, what's kind of your take on locking in profits versus staying with coins to kind of, spec mine them?
Yeah, I've definitely been burned one too many times holding on to coins in this magical hope that it's going to balloon and go through the roof and it's going to make me a ton of money, versus just turning a decent profit, especially over the last year, not only with GPU mining, but with other projects as well, with other hardware, is very much that I have learned is when something even in GPU state pops up and I start mining it for a few days, instead of like throwing it into like a moon bag and I'm like, great, this is going to go through the roof, I can't wait. Instead, exactly what you said is flipping it to more stable coins, more coins that I'm more confident in. I've even taken some and gone it right over to USDT or into Bitcoin. And it truly is the fact of like, I have a lesson learned this year is very much of like not having confidence in these young, immature projects that just come to the table and they magically present profits to miners. And we think this could be the real next big thing. I think I've learned very quickly over the last year that is not the case. Take your profits in that moment and maybe hold on to a little moon bag off to the side. I'm always that 50% rule for me of like, okay, keep a little moon bag for one day if this balloons to be insanity. But in the meantime, take those profits and rolling them, because you're right. Time and time again, we've seen, especially over the last year for GPU miners, where that coin just fades quickly and it's a quick downward shift and it's gone. And then you're like, oh, I've had my rigs on this for a month now, and now it's worth fractions. So I do agree with you, and it's definitely a lesson that I've learned this year.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point of like, there doesn't have to be any absolutes here of like, nope. Oh, you either spec mine 100% or you lock in 100% of your profits. If you want, you can split it up, just like you say, 50-50. If you mine any of these new coins, for example, Carlsen, when that popped off or something like that, save some of it if you want, and if you're in a position where you can take that risk. Perhaps Carlsen is gonna be the new Bitcoin. Who knows, right? Or swap 75% of it into Bitcoin or Caspa or whatever it is you want to do. You can literally do whatever you want, and you can also change your strategy continuously. You don't have to be just locked in. This is how I am. I'm a spec miner, or I'm a playing it safe kind of miner. I just roll with the punches, see what works. And speaking of what works, definitely this has been the year of like kind of looking at it from the perspective of at-home miners, more like myself with my 14 and a half cents power rate, which even that in some circles is kind of considered pretty low. Maybe not you with your 7 cent or whatever it is you have, right? But something that has actually worked out almost better than I think a lot of people expected has been going for very efficient miners that aren't necessarily mega profitable. So, the big example there would be a gas miner, right? It's very efficient, but it makes what, like a couple bucks a day or something like that?
Dollar something a day if you're lucky. Yep.
Yeah. Like when you first look at it, and it says 3,000 days ROI on mindasic.com or whatever,
Yep.
You're like, why would anyone buy this over a KS5 Pro or whatever, where it says 20-day ROI? I don't want to get into too much about like, are those worth it or not? Because that's completely a different kind of mining strategy and mining mindset, and one isn't necessarily better than the other. Just there are kind of different risks and different techniques to how you navigate and strategy with that. But what I do want to talk about is how these gas miners, if you've had a gas miner on something like Octaspace, like you've done pretty well. Like Octaspace has continuously grown this year, where those first few dollars that you made a day when you first got the gas miner for mining Octaspace is now worth significantly more than it was when you got it. And it kind of brings things back to just how this mine and hold strategy like can really work out well if you look into what projects you are mining, if you kind of do your research on what coins you believe will grow and what coins you're holding. And obviously there's a bit of luck involved with that as well. But I think the lesson for me there is like, don't look at like the daily profit of something. Obviously try to be profitable, but a $1 profit today could be equal to a $20 profit in just a few months if you direct that dollar of profit to the correct projects. And we've really seen that with miners like the gas miners.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. I mean, looking as a home miner at some of these super efficient miners that present lots of opportunity. You can run them per day and it's not breaking the bank. It's not costing you a fortune. And then you can really get into, as we talked about at the top of this video, spec mining, especially when you look at ETC hash miners or ETH hash miners that we've seen come out over the last 3 years. A lot of them are in question right now. However, if you can afford to take that risk to pick one up and to run them on a spec coin, mine was over a year ago when I first got the X16Q, was putting, I decided, okay, on ETC hash, I could get X, but there's this other coin out there that is getting more hype to it. I'm gonna try it out on there. Set it, forget it. A year later, Octaspace is up 226%, and I'm like, holy cow, what a really good play. And I haven't broke the bank running these. And as a home miner, that has been something to look at, is not only with jazz miners and home box miners, but even back to GPU mining, on looking at more efficient algorithms to run at home and to spec mine at home, versus gone are the days. I remember when, just thinking back over a year ago, the 𝗘𝗡 algorithm was like, there were forks left and right coming out on that, and GPU miners were jumping to that left and right. That has since shifted with the cost of electric going up, profit margins coming down. A lot of people are now focused on these more efficient algorithms, and everything really points back to spec mining, because that just consistent daily profitability really isn't there as a home miner anymore.
Yeah, and I just live during the video right now, I looked up just Octaspace price chart here, and I can see that like summer of last year, it was at about like 15 cents per coin, and it topped out well over $2 earlier this year, about a year later. So it's done more than a 10x in that short period, meaning that, like, you know, if you were mining $2 a day, $1 of which was power, you know, so $1 of profit, that means if you just held on to that, it was the equivalent of mining $19 profit per day. So just to kind of like, that's a real life example of the power of the mine and hodl strategy there. Of course, you can also get burned doing that. So and that's the game we play as miners. But again, bringing it back to like just the point of, for a lot of people, this really has been the year of efficient miners that might not necessarily be making the big bucks of profit every day, but thinking more long term, that's kind of where the efficient miners really find their place and become so much more valuable than what they might seem when you first get them. Hobbyist, unless you have anything to add to that, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it, Seb. It's been fun.
Yeah, as always. And everyone, please go check out Hobbyist's channel. I'm sure it will be linked in the description down below. And with that, I guess I'll put a video of his on the screen or something. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.